Periva Sharanam, Deivathin Kural, Book 6, Chandramouleeswari. In this story, Periva refers to the 42nd shloka of Soundarya Lahari, where Ambaal is addressed as the daughter of the snow-clad mountain, Himagiri Sute, and her ruby-studded crown's reflection that causes the crescent moon on her forehead to look like a rainbow. Our Acharyal has celebrated Ambaal in this verse with a variety of metaphors which Periva has interpreted beautifully. There is Chandrashakalam in the crown of Ambaal, that is made of gold. Hemam is gold, and Haimam means made of gold. Himam means ice or snow. Here, Ambaal is addressed as Himagiri Sutta. In the Kenopanishad, as Brahmavidya Swarupini, when she gives Upadesha to Indra, she is Haimavati. There, our Acharyal has interpreted that word Haimavati to mean both Himagiri Sutta and shining with the brilliance as only a snow crystal can do when the sunlight is passing through it. Here in Soundarya Lahari, in the first shloka itself, reference being to shloka 42nd of the collective 100 shlokas, Sri Shankara, our Acharya, has re-established all these connections. Not only that, as she gives Upadesha to Indra in the Kenopanishad, here the connection to Indra has been re-established by Dhanuhu Shauna Siram, by mentioning the rainbow as Indra's bow in the last line of this verse. Himam, Hima occurs in quick succession. Sabalam is followed by Sakalam in the third line, and thus the whole shloka is abundantly embellished with alliteration, rhymes, metaphors, and other poetical nuances. Normally, the moon we see is much smaller than the sun. In this description of Ambaal, here in the third line of this verse, we see the suns as so many gems in her crown, whereas the crescent moon we see here is as big as a slice of pumpkin, occupying a major portion of the crown's frontal facade. The light of the sunlight from the gems falls on the crescent moon in Ambaal's crown, and in the scattering effect, it creates a colorful display of churanam and shabalam, meaning smearing and variegation, iridescence. Yes, we know that the moon does not have a light of its own and is only reflecting the sunlight. That is the lesson that science gives us. But the lesson from the devotional poetry is something else altogether. In that poetry, the sunlight from the gems in Ambaal's crown falls on the self-effulgent crescent moon and creates a rainbow-like effect of insatiable beauty and illimitable imagination on the head of our beloved Ambaal. Instead of thinking of that as his unique imagination, our Acharya is asking the question, can anybody looking at this scene ever refrain from comparing it with the display of colors of a rainbow? Even when making an extraordinarily imaginative observation, our Acharya opts for humility instead of pride and goes on like that throughout Soundarya Lahari. Then the reference to Indra Devata. The Lord of Rains is Indra. His weapon is Vajrayudham, which, when it strikes, is heard and seen as thunder and lightning. His bow is the rainbow known as Indradhanush. That is what is mentioned here as Shauna Siram Dhanuhu, since he is a frontline soldier and the head of the Sena. Hence, he is Shauna Siram, a name for Indra given in the Sanskrit dictionary. From the Nirguna Brahman, by the influence of Parashakti, all the varieties of creation that have come about can be compared with the refraction of white light into so many colors. The very first shloka that describes Ambaal's beauty has brought out this idea. Also, Chandrashakalam Dhanuhu Shauna Tsiram. What we have described here need not be taken as refraction, but as reflection. Thus, in the very first shloka of Swarupa Varnana, by displaying the sun and moon that give all the energy, nourishment, light during the day and night for all the worlds and life forms, Acharya, who is the poet and author, has given us all a darshan of Ambaal as Chandra Surya Mauleeshwari. Though here the light of more than one sun is being talked about, all glory goes only to the moon, which receives all that light and reflects the same, that enables us to have a darshan of the mother of all as Chandramouleeswari. When he had visited Kailasa, our Acharya had been presented with 5 Sphatikalingas by Ishvara. They also had the same name as Chandramauleeshwara. It was during that visit that our Acharya was also given the manuscript of the Soundarya Lahari from Parameshwara, which was snatched by Nandikeshwara. Our Acharya had the onerous task of recomposing or writing from the 42nd to the 100th shloka, as I told you earlier. As Chandramauleeshwara is Ishvara's Swarupa, this stotra Soundarya Lahari is also Ambaal's Swarupa only. So it is an absolute order and in the rightness of things that in the first shloka said to be written by our Acharya, that is the 42nd, she is being described as Chandramauleeshwari. Periva Sharanam.